Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Majjhima Nikaya Summary and Practice Series. Lesson 5, the Discourse on Non-Defilement. The greatest danger is not seeing our own faults. Today, we will explore the Discourse on Non-Defilement, the fifth discourse in the middle-length discourses, Majjhima Nikaya. This discourse was delivered at Jetavana Monastery near the city of Savatthi. What makes this sutta particularly interesting is that the main teacher is not the Buddha himself, but Venerable Sariputra, the disciple praised by the Buddha as foremost in wisdom. His conversation partner is Venerable Maha Moggallana, renowned as the foremost disciple in psychic powers. When the Buddha's two chief disciples discuss the Dhamma together, we can be sure that the teaching is profound. And, indeed, this discourse addresses a problem that affects almost all of us, the defilements in our minds that we fail to recognize. At the beginning of the discourse, Venerable Sariputra describes 4 kinds of people. The first kind has mental defilements but does not know that they have them. The second kind has mental defilements and knows that they have them. The third kind is relatively free from defilements but does not recognize this fact. The fourth kind is free from defilements and clearly knows it. At first, this classification may seem unusual. Why is a person who still has defilements but recognizes them considered superior to someone who has defilements and does not recognize them? The answer is simple. A person who knows they are sick will seek treatment. A person who is sick but believes they are perfectly healthy is unlikely to recover. This is the central message of the discourse. The word defilement refers to the impurities of the mind: greed, hatred, jealousy, arrogance, selfishness, pride, attachment, and other unwholesome mental states. To explain this, Venerable Sariputra uses a memorable simile. Imagine a bronze bowl that has become dirty. If its owner does not notice the dirt or makes no effort to clean it, the bowl will become dirtier over time. But if the owner recognizes the dirt and regularly cleans the bowl, it will become brighter and cleaner. Our minds are exactly the same. When we recognize our faults, we have an opportunity to correct them. When we fail to see them, they continue to grow unnoticed. At this point, Venerable Maha Moggallana asks an important question. What are these defilements? Venerable Sariputra answers briefly but clearly. Unwholesome qualities, harmful states of mind, and sensual desires that contaminate the mind are called defilements. The discourse then moves into a series of remarkably practical examples. This is perhaps the most fascinating part of the sutta. Rather than discussing dramatic crimes or major moral failures, Sariputra points to ordinary reactions that occur in everyday life. A person makes a mistake but does not want anyone to know about it. When the mistake is discovered, they become angry. Someone wants to be corrected privately. When criticized in public, they become upset. Someone wants to receive more respect than others. They want more attention, more praise, more recognition, more special treatment, and when someone else receives these things instead, irritation and resentment arise. Sariputra explains that these reactions reveal the presence of defilements. In other words, the real problem is not what happens outside us. The real problem is how our minds respond. If a single criticism makes us angry, there is something to examine. If another person's success makes us uncomfortable, there is something to examine. If being ignored causes disappointment, there is something to examine. These reactions show that attachment and ego are still operating beneath the surface. One of the most insightful teachings in this discourse is that greed doesn't always appear in obvious forms. Many people think greed only means craving money, possessions, or sensual pleasures. But the Buddhist teaching reveals subtler forms of greed: the desire for fame, the desire for status, the desire for admiration, the desire for recognition, the desire to feel important. Sometimes we are not attached to wealth, but we are deeply attached to praise. Sometimes we are not attached to material things, but we crave approval from others. These too are forms of attachment that can pollute the mind. The discourse then presents a powerful image. Imagine a bronze bowl that looks shiny and beautiful on the outside, but inside it contains something rotten and foul. From a distance, it appears attractive, but once opened, it becomes repulsive. This simile teaches that a person's true value is not determined by outward appearances. Someone may live an austere life, wear simple robes, dwell in a forest, and appear highly spiritual. Yet, if greed, hatred, and delusion still dominate the mind, genuine purification has not been achieved. On the other hand, another person may live a very ordinary life without any outward signs of holiness. Yet, if they have reduced greed, hatred, and selfishness, they are moving in the right direction. This is a profound reminder. In Buddhism, spiritual progress is not measured by appearance, not by clothing, not by titles, not by reputation. It is measured by the degree to which greed, hatred, and delusion have been reduced. Toward the end of the discourse, Venerable Maha Moggallana expresses deep appreciation for Sariputra's teaching. He compares the training of the mind to a wheelwright carefully shaving away the crooked and uneven parts of a wheel. Little by little, patiently, until the wheel becomes smooth and perfectly shaped. The path of practice is the same. No one eliminates all defilements overnight, but every time we recognize a defilement and let go of a portion of it, we move one step closer to freedom. That's all for the summary. Let's move on to the practice.
Hello, everyone. Now let us look at some practical applications of this teaching and see how we can apply it in our daily lives. 1. At the end of each day, spend 5 minutes reviewing your actions, words, and thoughts. Ask yourself, when was I irritated? When was I disappointed? When did I want recognition, praise, or special treatment? This simple reflection helps reveal defilements that usually remain hidden. 2. Whenever you feel upset, pause and investigate the cause. Instead of blaming other people or circumstances, ask, what expectation of mine was not fulfilled? Very often, suffering comes not from the event itself, but from attachment to how we wanted things to be. 3. Learn to welcome constructive criticism. When someone points out a mistake, resist the urge to defend yourself immediately. Listen carefully and ask whether there is any truth in what is being said. Even unpleasant feedback can become a valuable tool for growth. 4. Pay attention to feelings of jealousy and comparison. When someone else receives praise, recognition, success, or opportunities that you wanted, observe your reaction honestly. If jealousy appears, do not suppress it or justify it. Simply acknowledge it and recognize it as a form of attachment. 5. Practice sympathetic joy. Each day, deliberately celebrate the success and happiness of others. When a friend succeeds, silently wish them well. When someone receives appreciation, be genuinely happy for them. This practice gradually weakens envy and resentment. 6. Focus on inner transformation rather than appearances. It is easy to look spiritual, speak wisely, or create a good image of ourselves. The real question is, am I becoming less greedy, less angry, and less selfish? Judge progress by the condition of the mind, not by external appearances. 7. When you discover a fault in yourself, do not become discouraged. The purpose of practice is not to prove that we are perfect. The purpose is to see clearly. Every time you recognize a weakness, you have already taken the first step toward overcoming it. 8. Make mindfulness of defilements part of daily life. Throughout the day, occasionally pause and ask, what is happening in my mind right now? Is there craving, irritation, pride, fear? The more quickly we recognize these states, the less power they have over us. 9. Remember the central lesson of this discourse. Seeing a defilement is not a failure. Failing to see it is the real danger. Therefore, whenever an unwholesome state appears, treat it as an opportunity to learn, rather than a reason for guilt or self-criticism. Conclusion. The Discourse on Non-Defilement teaches a timeless lesson. The greatest danger is not having defilements, but having them without recognizing them. The moment we see our faults clearly, transformation becomes possible. Those who believe they have no problems are often the ones least able to grow. Therefore, spiritual practice does not begin with becoming perfect. It begins with honesty. When we have the courage to look deeply into our minds and patiently remove the stains we find there, the mind gradually becomes lighter, clearer, and more peaceful. That is the profound message of the Discourse on Non-Defilement.